From RDK. I got this in an email today, thought people would like to see it. Consider it a rumor for now, but it sure sounds good. RV update you may want to hear. The past 3 weeks have been a wild and exciting ride with President Trump working and moving at warp speed to bring about the restoration of our nation under the Constitution. Our financial system has been slipping away since just after 1900 with the birth of the Federal Reserve, which was brought about by a handful of very wealthy banking families. This ride into financial chaos gained momentum in 1933 with then-President Franklin D. Roosevelt taking us off the gold standard, and was taken even further in August 1971 during the Nixon administration, when the international monetary system was changed from gold to fiat, the system of which we became so acutely aware during the past 8 years, as money had no basis of value and was being printed out of thin air. The Nixon move prompted a currency change from the silver certificate to the Federal Reserve note that still floats even more lightly in our wallets today. Well, fast forward through the 4 years of the Bush 41 presidency, the next 8 years of Bill Clinton's presidency, the 8 years of the Bush 43 presidency, and the 8 years of Obama. It has been a long haul down a slippery slope to our nation becoming almost unrecognizable, with the past 8 years gaining a momentum to a near third world status we never would have thought possible, as the national media sang the lullaby to keep us asleep as to what was actually taking place, and the education system made sure the children never had a clue to begin with. Make no mistake, there has been a small circle of global ruling elite with particular countries, USA especially, having their own larger circle of people in power to hold the purse strings and dictate policy. We must all realize the hostile and oftentimes combative actions, and sometimes even silly diatribe coming from the left-wing Democrats that has been unleashed against this present leadership is rooted in the knowledge that this is actually a transfer of power and purse strings away from their circle of rule. What a travesty and what a farce. Just a quick side note. We must remember that President Kennedy was assassinated because he was putting us back on the gold standard and currency was already printed. United States notes were beginning to be circulated when he was killed. These notes still are in circulation and are gold-backed. And we do not want to forget the attempt on President Reagan's life because he wanted to do away with the Federal Reserve. Something Ron Paul has been preaching for decades. No, I do not always agree with him. Just saying. Now, 28 years after President Reagan, enter President Donald Trump. As I know, I am addressing people who have exchanged their fiat Federal Reserve notes for different types of foreign currency, bought currency, because of the global currency reset to occur soon. I want to emphasize to you that we all need to listen to what Pres Trump is saying. As of this past week, he has told us of 2 major events on his agenda that we will be experiencing in short order. When speaking with airline executives at the White House on Thursday, he told them, all of us, we can expect a major tax reduction bill in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Tadea. Remember, we have talked for the past 2 years about the National Economic and Security Reformation Act. NESRA. There is about a ton of misinformation on the internet about this to discredit and misdirect, but no matter if it did or did not get passed in the Congress and signed by Bill Clinton, under duress, as many believe to be true, what we are hearing is to be taking place within the policies of the present administration lines up with what was first published by Harvey Francis Barnard, a Louisiana graduate in systems philosophy, and an engineering consultant and teacher. He created the NESRA proposal during the late 1980s and early 1990s. He printed 1,000 copies of his proposal, titled Draining the Swamp, Monetary and Fiscal Policy Reform, 1996, and sent copies to members of Congress, believing it would pass quickly on its merits. Now, about the 2 upcoming points of interest. 1. Tax reduction announced by President Trump this week. This will give us a flat tax that will be a national sales tax of around 15% on first-time purchases of products that excludes food and medicines. There are many other points to this, such as the demise of the Federal Reserve, central bank, which has already been done through bankruptcy, as well as the abolishing of the Internal Revenue Service, which is a corporation domiciled in Puerto Rico and the collection arm for the Federal Reserve. A wonderful part of this is no longer paying taxes on one's wages. You can smile while you read that sentence. Taxation will be for all people who shop, not just for those of us who work. 2. At yesterday's press conference with Prime Minister Abe from Japan, President Trump stated very clearly that there will now be a level playing field in trade and currency. This addresses the global currency reset we often speak of. People, we must realize that what is happening right before our eyes, the dying of a failed takeover of our constitution, government, and banking system. Those who have been in power are screaming loudest as this is being wrested from their grasps, and all they can do is threaten and malign. Do not dwell on the nasties. Just listen to what your president is saying and realize he is not the buffoon they know that he is not, but want you to believe him to be. He truly is a man who has come into this time to give us a chance to make things right. We might not always agree with everything, but then, realize we do not have the same view he does from his perspective. Mainly, he is risking all for something he knows is the right thing to do for this nation and for others around the world. 3. Now, when do we do the foreign currency exchange? Well, according to words coming discreetly from his own lips to those who are aware of what is happening, the time is now. There is so much security around the details that if we do know something, it is not to be discussed in cyberspace and is subject to adjustment, a fluid situation to a degree, at best. The most accurate time frame all involved at those levels can predict is from now till Tuesday. The Democrats have done everything they can to stall this, as they know when Nusahin is sworn in, the financial sector is removed from their greedy control, and there will in turn be many new multimillionaires and billionaires among we the people. President Trump has already declared at his inauguration, we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people. Blessings to you.